On this edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, we look ahead to the 2019 MLB draft and who from this province might turn some heads in early June. Welcome to episode 33 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. Many high school and college baseball players have circled June 3rd on their calendars, as that will mark the beginning of the 3-day Major League Baseball draft. There are more than a few athletes from our province who are hoping to get a phone call saying they've been chosen. In 2018, Edmonton's Eric Sabrowski was the first from Alberta to be taken, with the San Diego Padres drafting him in the 14th round, 411th overall. When all was said and done, Spruce Grove's LaRon Smith was also taken, as was Vauxhall Academy's Damiano Palmagiani and Okotoks Dawgs alumni Cody Funderburk, Greg Cullen, and Michael Gretler. Who will get the call this year? It's a great question, especially when you look at the Canadian Baseball Network's rankings of draft-eligible Canadians. Topping the list for quite some time has been Calgary's Cesar Valero at Dawgs Academy. He, along with teammates Micah McDowell and Ayden Makarus, have garnered a lot of attention with the national junior team over the winter. Add them to the list that also includes Vauxhall Academy's Adam Macko and former Jet Josh Bergman, and there could be quite a few familiar names called. We'll start this episode off with Jeff Duda at Dawgs Academy to talk about the players he's coached and what teams can expect out of them. We also got into his scouting responsibilities for the Washington Nationals. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk first and foremost about the upcoming MLB draft. I know you have one kid in particular from Dawgs Academy that a lot of people have been paying a lot of attention to over the last little while, obviously being Cesar Valero. Talk a little bit about what this kid brings to a lineup and what kinds of things people are excited about him.
I think one of the things a lot of people might not necessarily know about Cesar is just the kind of kid he is. He's always one of the first ones in the building and one of the last to leave. He's worked his tail off to get to where he's at now, and he's a great teammate. Not only on the 18U black team, but also in the indoor facility. If there's a peewee in there or whatever, he'll take ground balls with just about anybody and take some swings and try and help kids out. He's a great teammate and a great person, and he's definitely a special kid to have around. Mm-hmm. In terms of his skill set, I think the biggest thing is his bat. When you talk about a player and his ability to hit, there haven't been too many high schoolers that I've seen in recent memory that can really swing it like he can. And obviously he can run a little bit, and but I think the bat's what's getting all the attention at this point.
When you look at his progression from when he first started at Dawgs Academy, did you know right off the bat that this guy was going to be a gamer?
When he first showed up, he was, I want to say, 13 at the time. And there's definitely, a different sound off of his bat even at that age. You definitely could tell he had a feel for hitting, and you knew that, basically looking at his dad and his parents in general, in the way he was built at that time, that he was going to grow a little bit. You just didn't know how much, kind of thing, obviously. But, it was definitely something special at that age, and it's just been a yearly progression where it just keeps getting better and better.
How proud are you of watching his progression and the things that he's accomplished? And, you look at the rankings and how well he does on that side of things, and just watching him has had to have been a bit of a treat for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, along the way, he's had some hiccups, but he's, obviously, being a position player, you're going to deal with a lot more failure on the offensive side of things. And, not once has he let those failures knock him down and hold him back. He's learned from it. And this year you can really see a difference in his ability to track the pitches that he's seeing and laying off of the off speed in the dirt and the high fastballs. The game has slowed down for him. And, he's definitely he's been one of our top productive hitters so far this season. Obviously, we haven't had him too often, being with Team Canada. Just seeing how, he's handled all the expectations and what's come along with, being one of the top prospects in Canada. He's handled it tremendously well, and I know myself and the rest of the coaching staff can be more proud of him and in the way he's handled himself on and off the field, and he seems to really enjoy it. And, he's got a bright future in the game, that's for sure.
What kinds of things are you telling him to work on? What kinds of things do you think he needs to refine to get to that point where he is being noticed even more than he is right now?
Well, I think with Tyler and Alan, they've really worked on the mental side of things and teaching them the right approach at the plate and, just learning how to, pick up on pitchers' tendencies and such. Learning the little intricacies of the game. Mechanically, the swing's pretty darn good. There hasn't been much in the way of tweaking that. I know they've been trying to get him in his back hip a little bit more. That was about a year ago, and Tyler and Allen really haven't had to adjust that at all. It's really just, focusing on those intricacies of the game. And then on the defensive side of things, myself and Val Heldobler have been, trying to help him with his throwing. The glove, it's there. He's got the range, but the arm has been a little bit inconsistent this year. Working on arm strength and getting a feel for the ball kind of thing, and learning the different arm slots and such. We've really been working on that quite a bit this last year, and he continues to show some progression there. He also gets work in the outfield as well. Actually, I think he played in left field today for Team Canada. Mm-hmm. He's probably an above-average defender in the outfield, which is something, goes a long way in the draft, having that ability to be, somebody that could play the middle of the infield or corner infield, corner outfield. If I had to guess, he'll probably end up corner outfield at the next level. When
you look at some of the talent that you've had come through, and this year is no exception, you've always had a few. And one of the other guys that has gotten some attention, particularly from the junior national team, was Ayden Makarus. Talk a little bit about that kid and what he's brought to not only the program but also just in terms of Baseball Canada and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Ayden's been with us for quite a while now. This is his sixth year in the academy, and we've had the chance to watch him grow up right in front of our own eyes, and always brings a positive attitude to the field. He's definitely one of our leaders on and off of it. He's definitely that vocal leader that we've needed on that black team this year, more so than, I shouldn't say more so, just as much as he has been by example, because, once again, he's been one of our top guys. He's been the catcher behind the plate that's been getting the majority of the workload, especially as of late, and he's hitting 4 ahead of Cesar there. So, he's obviously an important bat in the lineup for us as well. But, I feel like he's kind of flown under the radar a little bit up to this point, just with Cesar, garnering so much attention even early on in his youth. And I think, Ayden is really, come into his own a little bit this year and let people know, hey, I'm here too, kind of thing, and I can play the game. He's just a great kid to have around, him and Cesar both.
Talk a little bit about just the year that your program has had, and even the last few years. I mean, there's been those success stories that have rolled through. It's got to make it all kind of pay off for you, and it's got to make you feel real proud about the job that you guys as coaches are doing, but also the players that are buying into what you guys are trying to sell.
Yeah, definitely over the last 3-4 years, it's kind of taken off to a whole other level in terms of not only what we're doing at tournaments in terms of winning them and such, but also the players are, moving on to bigger and better things than they ever did before. It's nice to see that the guys that have, come as early as Tyler Hollick in that first graduating class that kind of laid the foundation for what the academy is now. And Jordan Procession and Matt Lloyd and those guys, having great college careers. And not only that, but being better people off the field, better young men. They're ready for the workforce kind of thing if pro ball doesn't come calling. I think that's the most satisfying part, is just seeing the guys come back each year. Seeing the level of maturity and the understanding of just what it does take to be able to play at that next level and to perform in the classroom and on the field and all that. It's definitely a very rewarding part of our job, is just seeing those guys getting that opportunity and relishing in it and taking advantage of everything that comes their way.
It's got to mean a lot as well to you guys to have guys like Precision coming back and giving in ways, whether it's through camps or just having conversations with guys, that kind of thing, to be able to show the younger guys, hey, you know what, you guys can aspire to something greater than, just a couple of years or a cup of coffee in pro ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan's been coming back ever since he signed with the Red Sox, and now he's with the Dodgers, of course. He works with our catchers daily, works with the hitters daily. He's always got some stories and, to share about, up and coming prospects and such, and, just talk to our guys about the game at the next level, giving them that different, perspective on things from somebody that's actively playing, the daily grind of this game. And, I think our kids really enjoy having them back here every off season, and it's definitely something that they benefit from. And we're very fortunate to have Pro come back every off season and work with our guys.
Do you get the sense at all that there is a bit of a changing momentum towards major league teams coming to Alberta to, at the very least, take a look at the talent available? I mean, you're now an associate scout now with Washington Nationals. I mean, there's certainly at least some interest to see, hey, what's going on north of the border.
Yeah, absolutely. It's growing every single year. I mean, obviously there's some guys that, go every year top 10 rounds out of this country, but they're starting to see that there's, more than just those guys. And between, our program and Vauxhall and, Langley Blaze has been doing it for a very long time, the Ontario Blue Jays and some of those other academies out there, the guys that might not be on Team Canada, they're starting to realize, hey, these guys got some tools too. And they're definitely showing more interest. And I think that's why you're seeing more than just those Team Canada players getting drafted each year out of this country, is because, the major league organizations are getting their guys to come up north of the border and see what's up here. And there's definitely, kids all around the country that can play and could potentially be a draft pick, maybe not the top 10 rounds, but, that talent level is here. And they're starting to see that.
When it comes to your gig with the Nationals, what are you keeping an eye out for? What kinds of things or what kinds of players are you kind of tapping into and going, hey, that might be somebody that we should look at further on down the road?
Basically, anytime we're playing a game or somebody's at our place, I'm constantly evaluating the other team's arms, their hitters, all that sort of thing. Just with talking with the guy, Scott Ramsey's name, that's who I'm the associate for. The Nationals typically, they like the college hitters, position players more than the high school kids, because you have a little bit better understanding of what you're going to get, versus some major league organizations like to get them young kind of thing. But with the college team here as well, I'll definitely be attending a lot more home games whenever possible to try and keep tabs on the guys that are playing in the Western Canadian Baseball League now. But basically anybody that I see that, catches my attention, whether it be, velocity or the kid can run, impressive round of BP or whatever, basically I just keep notes every time I see them and try and keep track of their progression.
I am curious, what does catch your eye?
Well, with pitching, you can't really get around the fastball. You got if you got a plus fastball kind of thing, that's definitely going to catch my attention and any other scout's attention. How does the arm work? What's he built like? Does he pass the eye test? Does he compete on the mound? Does he compete in the batter's box? Does he put together good at bats? Does he make adjustments? Can he turn on a 90-mile-an-hour fastball? Bat speed, all that sort of stuff.
How much of it is mental as well? I know in talking to different people is, you can be the most athletic kid in the world, but if you don't have the mindset or the, the personality to go along with it, sometimes that can come at your detriment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talent is just that. It's talent. And without that mentality of I want to make sure that the other team knows I'm the best player kind of thing, or, playing with a chip on your shoulder, I mean, it doesn't really do a whole lot of good when it comes to actually being able to play in a game. So the makeup part of things is definitely big. Obviously, if you're throwing 95 and even if it's going to the backstop at times, you're going to get more attention than the kid throwing 85. But, the makeup it's the biggest separator, I think. It's one of the quickest ways you can separate yourself from one of the dudes to a supposed to be kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I am curious. We've talked a little about Cesar. We've talked a little bit about Ayden, but and I don't want you to pick your favorite kids here at the same time too. But when you're going down the list of guys that you have through Dawgs Academy right now, what names stick out to you that you're like, yep, those guys are going to be players just like those two?
Michael McDowell, definitely a very dynamic athlete. Has the ability to be able to hit the ball out, works the count, handles the barrel, plus defender in the outfield. And then Ricardo Sanchez is another one. He'll get overlooked a lot, but when you get to watch him play every single day, there might not be a better player in our program. He just doesn't. He's 5'6" and 180 pounds soaking wet, but he gets it done. And he's definitely a special talent. He's a 2020 graduate, so he'll be graduating the program next year. Kendall Keller is another one. Plus defender, crazy bat speed. Nicholas Tremblay, possibly one of our most toolsy players. He can hit for power. Can run a sub 6'6" consistently. He's got a plus arm. He's thrown at 90 from the outfield before. There's definitely a lot of talent up and down the roster, but every one of those guys I just listed, amongst some of our even younger guys like Dryden House or Martin Dang, any one of them could win the game for you kind of thing.
One final question for you. What does it mean to you to be able to give back to the game that you were able to play for as long as you were, and to watch the progression of some of these young talents from, the ages of 13, 14 to see them graduate and to do bigger and better things as some of the aforementioned names that you've thrown out there already?
Well, it's something that I think all of our coaches on staff take a great deal of pride in, is being able to give the kids an opportunity such as the ones we had, whether it's, college or professional baseball or, becoming an engineer kind of thing. Once their college career is over with, once you're a dog, you're always a dog. We keep tabs with our players. We try and talk to them regularly and just make sure that, life is treating them good, not just baseball. And I think that's just, one of the most important things is getting the kids to understand that, baseball is really no different than the game of life. We teach a lot of life lessons. It's just baseball happens to be the motor. And, you can take a lot away from this game and teaching them those sorts of things. And then when they do start to buy in and they start to, see the things we're talking about coming to fruition, it's something pretty special, and a lot of lifelong relationships are formed out of it.
Always appreciate the insight. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We now head south to Vauxhall Academy, where Les McTavish will be keeping a watchful eye on the draft. While he is an area scout for the Seattle Mariners, he's focused right now on finishing up the Jets season and getting his players ready for the next level, which might include a call for some from the pros. Les, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks, Joe, for having me.
Let's start off talking about the MLB draft, and how closely are you going to be watching it this year?
Well, it's always one of those things that's intriguing. In particular this year, I think Adam has had a good spring and hopefully gets an opportunity to be drafted, and then we have a couple other guys that may have a chance, and then a couple former players that maybe on the board come draft day. So it's exciting, and it's always something that you look forward to, and you look forward to for the kids to get opportunities, and be rewarded for all their hard work.
Before we get into some of the players, I am curious when it comes to the draft, and especially those who have a chance or a likelihood of getting drafted, do you coach them through it in a sense? Do you talk to them at all about it and the expectations and how it all goes, or do you let them sort of feel it out and do it all on their own?
No, you try to help them through the process. And, my biggest thing as a coach is, to be able to help manage their daily workload and to be able to help position themselves that they're able to perform every time they get on the mound or playing or hitting or whatever it may be. And ultimately, it can be overwhelming, and it is overwhelming. It should be. Like, it's if you've never been drafted before, it's hard to understand some of the pressures that come with it. But yeah, we just try to offer as much support as we can, and try to answer questions where we can. If we know the answer, if we don't, then we go get the right answer for them. And they also have, they rely on their family a lot. Some may have an advisor, so that could help them through the process as well.
Any favorite stories over the last number of years you've been involved with Vauxhall when it comes to kids being drafted and things that just stand out as, that was something different or unexpected?
Well, I'll tell you what, in 2009, we had 6 draft picks, 4 current and 2 former players. So, that was pretty unique and exciting. And, each year there's surprises. I don't know if we've ever had somebody taken considerably higher than we expected. But it is something that's always exciting just to follow, not just for Vauxhall players, but, for kids from Alberta or from Canada in general.
Talk a little bit about Adam Macko first and foremost. I know he's been on a lot of radars, especially here in Canada, and he's a young kid, but brings a wealth of talent to the mound.
Yeah, Adam, he's been a high performance guy. He's been one of the best guys in Alberta for a number of years, and he would probably be even more known nationally if he was a Canadian citizen and playing on the Canadian junior national team. But he, Adam, he's a special individual, and he's a great pitcher on the field. But I'll tell you, there's nobody that works harder off the field, whether it's in the weight room or his sleep habits or his eating or getting up early or going to bed early, or just all the sacrifices that he's went through in his career to get to this point. Hopefully he can finish off strong. He's got a couple more outings before the draft, and everything that he gets, he's certainly earned. And he's, if you pulled anybody that's played with him in Vauxhall for the last 3 years, every one of them would say he's as hard a worker as anybody we have.
What impresses you the most about a kid like that, especially as you mentioned, he's not a Canadian citizen. He came here, and his story we've talked about in the past, but he's certainly a kid who has really bought into what you guys are doing, one, but two, is just into the baseball lifestyle.
Yeah, Adam, I always talk to our players and to people about that you either can like baseball or you can love baseball, or baseball can be your life. And to me, Adam, baseball is his life. He loves to compete. He likes to, but it's not just baseball. It's everything that goes with being a student athlete, whether it's academically or in the weight room or socially with community members or his classmates who might not be in the baseball academy. And he embodies what it means to be a student athlete and a high performance athlete. And, he's bought into all of it. He's been raised really well. His mom and dad have did an exceptional job. And he's had a lot of coaches along the way that have did a great job with them. And, we're just reaping the benefits for the last 3 years of all the hard work he's put in.
How do you prep a kid like that for what might be coming down the road, not just when it comes to an MLB draft, but obviously post-secondary, that kind of thing? There are some expectations with that. There are some thought processes. I mean, you even look at him being ranked as one of the top Canadians in the country. What do you how do you coach him through that process and make sure that he keeps at it with an even keel and an even head?
It's funny. We don't talk a lot about it. We don't talk a lot about the draft. We don't talk a lot as a program. We don't talk about rankings. We just talk about things that we can control and things that we can do on a daily basis to continue to get better. We, as a program, as a whole, we very rarely talk about it. We never talk about rankings or things of that nature. We just talk about the process and believing in the process and trying to get better every day. And, real soon here, when we get done playing, May 29th, we play the Bulls. That's the end of our regular season. Things will change for Adam a little bit. He'll probably take a week off and get through the draft, and that'll certainly, take over his life a little bit more than it is today. But right now, we don't talk a ton about it. We just make sure we get ready for his next start, which is Friday night in Missoula. And as soon as Friday night's over, we'll worry about Wednesday trying to get ready to pitch against the Bulls. So I think that's the best way to handle it with young kids, is to try to not think about the unknowns or the maybes and just worry about the things that you can control. And that's, each and every day you go about your business.
Mm-hmm. From another guy that is getting a little bit of attention, especially stateside, and a former player of yours, Josh Bergman has turned a lot of heads. What does he bring to the table?
Josh is similar to Adam. Josh was just a 3-year player with Vauxhall, and, from the time he was in the 10th grade until the 12th grade, he was dominant in every aspect of the game. And, Josh, now fast forward, he's in his 3rd year of university, and he's pitching for the Huskies. And Josh is explosive. He's got a big, big fastball. He's got a great breaking ball. And the thing with Josh, and it's the same with Adam, they have a really, really high compete level. When they get the ball on the mound, they are competing. They're putting everything they have into every pitch, and they're going to leave it all out on the field. And, Josh, I'm real proud of Josh. He went through Tommy John surgery and came out the other end well. But that took a lot of hard work, and not just physically, but mentally. And every accolade or every great outing or anybody talking to him in publications, he certainly earned it, because as anybody knows that's went through a surgery, it's a hard grind, and not just on the physical end, but also on the mental aspect.
Has his level of success, particularly down in college, surpassed your expectations at all?
I don't think the success level, because I thought he was as good as anybody coming out of high school. The velocity, maybe. The velocities continue to climb the whole way. And, it doesn't surprise me. Josh, he threw a no-hitter when he was in 10th grade at Vauxhall against a good program. So, it doesn't surprise me. He's had the ability since he was young to go out and compete, to find a way to win, and he's always had some talent. But he's the type of kid that he just leaves everything on the field. So does it surprise me? Maybe to a degree, but the other side of it, and nothing surprises me with Josh. He's gifted. He's great at his craft. And he's got a bright, bright future, and I look forward to watching him hopefully someday on TV.
When it comes to that top end and where they might hit their ceiling for both Adam and Josh, where do you see it, and what do they need to do to make sure they get up to that next level and get into pro ball before too long?
Well, I'm certainly not an expert at it, but I can tell you this, that, anything short of pitching on TV someday, both would be disappointed. When I talk about Adam, he, from the time he was in the 10th grade throwing 80 miles an hour, talked about pitching on TV, and not just pitching on TV in the big leagues, but being a mainstay and being an all-star. And I thought he was crazy when he talked about that when he was young, but maybe he wasn't. And, Josh is the same way. I think if you do, or if they do get an opportunity to sign professionally, or if Adam goes to Purdue, I think it's important to understand that when you get to that next level, whatever that level is, that's when the hard work, everything resets, and that's when the hard work begins. And you have a long road ahead of you, whether it's the college game or the pro game. And once you get that opportunity, you start over at zero, and you have an opportunity, and you have the ability to carve your own path and create your own future.
You mentioned off the top that you have your eye on a few different players heading into the draft. Who else should Alberta baseball fans be keeping an eye on heading into the first week of June?
Well, I think there's, certainly a couple guys up in Okotoks, Cesar and Micah, that maybe even Ayden Makarus that have the ability and certainly may get drafted. And for Alberta's sake, the more kids that get drafted, the better. And down with us, maybe Evan O'Toole, or there's a couple other guys that have had some interest from some programs or some clubs. So you never really know, the professional draft, and there's a lot of great players out there, and you just hope kids get an opportunity, and if they get the opportunity, they make the most of it. So I'm excited about it. I think Alberta's in a great spot, and I think Alberta baseball in our province is continuing to get better and better.
What does it mean to you to have some attention, not just on your program, but just on some of the products that you've had come through, whether it be Josh or whether it be Adam or anybody else over the last, couple of decades here that have really put a stamp on the game themselves?
It means a lot, I think, we've hopefully been a small part of their success, and let's not forget that there's been a lot of other people that are a part of players' success too. And Adam and Josh had a lot of coaches that helped them build and grow prior to coming to Vauxhall, and Josh has had some great coaches since being at Vauxhall. So you hope that you've been a small part of their success, and you hope that you've been able to give them something that will help them in their career. And ultimately you just sit back and watch, and you try to give them everything you have, and then once it's their time to move on to bigger and better things, you hope your biggest thing is you hope you've given them the ability to be successful and to be able to handle some adversity and the ups and downs of the game. And it's a lot of fun. And there's a couple other guys that are down in school that maybe having some good years, and you're just excited for them, and you're excited about the possibility and the opportunities.
Absolutely. A lot of those opportunities might be coming and knocking before too long. Les, do appreciate the time on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us as always.
No, thank you very much, and we appreciate, and I know everybody in Alberta appreciates all you do for baseball in our province.
We want to thank both Jeff and Les for their insights on the podcast this week. We will definitely be keeping you posted on all things MLB draft as the selections are made, so follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you don't already. A big thanks as well to all of you for downloading and listening to the podcast. This has been the biggest month for the podcast so far, and it's all because of you. We'll be back on Monday with another episode. Until then, thanks again for all of your support of Alberta Dugout Stories.